I'ma be what I'ma be. I like me for me. I am who I wanna be.
What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome back to another epic video, and today we're going to be looking at 5 simple tricks to grade better. Ultimately, as a colorist, your job is to make pretty images. So that's an oversimplification, right? But in this video, I'm going to break it down and show you step by step what it takes to make pretty images. And guys, get super pumped because I just dropped a brand new webinar where I'm going to be sharing my secrets to developing an HDR ready workflow. So link is down below. This training is absolutely free and it will not be available on my YouTube. So check it out before it's too late. Ever wonder how to turn your SDR grade to HDR? In addition to that, this free webinar includes proper workflow to using Hollywood's most used film print emulation, custom techniques to stress testing your LUTs, future-proof LUTs for HDR and ACES workflows. Learn to balance your footage in seconds with printer lights. Secrets to building an HDR-ready node tree. Prepping Dolby Vision trim for Netflix. Pro tip when saving a power grade. I will end the session with an extended Q&A. These questions came from you guys. Click the link in the description to sign up for this free training. It's been a while since I did a talent spotting, so today I want to give a shout out to Cameron Marigold. This guy is putting out straight up fire all day, every day. A must follow account on Instagram. Go show him some love. And guys, on that note, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. It will mean the world to me if you subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see behind the scenes and other cool stuff. Let's roll the intro. Let's get this show on the road. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my entire node tree without labeling it because I don't want to ruin the surprise. And then we're going to label each node as we move along. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is going to be our node tree structure. Let's start with the first node, which is going to be CST, short for color space transform. We know that this is shot on red. So I'm going to go ahead and do a proper conversion from log to Rec 709. Now that's something that you will need to know, either discuss it with your producer or director of photography and find out which camera they're using, which profile they're using, stuff like that. Now, so I know exactly what they used. I'm going to go select that, log 3G10, red, white gamut, and all of a sudden, look at the scopes, perfect conversion from log to Rec 709. Now, if you want to learn a more advanced way to set up your color space transform, check out my free training. Link is down below. So that is our first step. So we've already accomplished that. As a colorist, your job is to make images look pretty. Now let's deep dive and analyze what we got going on. Okay, so I see this light hitting the wall and the window right here, which creates a motivation, meaning we can create a vignette and then everything outside of it we can pull down quite a bit because there's a motivation. Right? The light is coming through here. So if this area is really dark, it will feel natural. So that's one thing that we can do. Another thing we need to do is we need to bring out our dude. So we need to focus on that. So another thing that I want to do is I want to create a really hot, sunny day. Okay. So I'm going to keep all those things in mind. And now let's go ahead and go attack it. So let's move on to our next node. This one is going to be our primaries. And what I want to do here is I want to give my image just a little bit more pop. I'm going to start with raising my gamma a little bit, bringing my gain down, keep it somewhere around here. So if I do before and after, I lifted my shot up a little bit. And now I'm going to go under my contrast slider and I'm going to start cranking it. I'm not doing too much, okay? I don't want to push it too much. So I'm going to leave it somewhere around here. So it's it lifted our image. It's giving us a little bit of pop. I kind of like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Still tons of room to work with. And now I want to go under my color temperature and start adding that warmth that I was talking about. So I want to go too far, obviously, and then push it back. So park it somewhere around here. And we can even see in our vector scope to like how much warmth we're adding. But this is looking like borderline. We're just adding a tint to our entire image. And that's where getting granular comes into play. So now what I want to do is I want to go into my gamma and I want to pull some of that yellow out. So if I do before and after, we can see in our highlights that we still have a lot of warmth. Look at that yellow. And you can even see it right here in the scopes. So we still have a dominant warmth in our highlights, but now we balanced our image very nicely by pulling a lot of that out from our midtones. Okay, so it feels and looks way more believable. Now what I want to do at this point is, do I want to mess with my primaries anymore? I feel like as of now, my primaries are looking pretty good, so I'm going to leave them as is. Now let's get into our log wheels. That's what we're going to be doing here, log. And the idea is that I want to make him look perfect and stylized using my log wheels, but nothing else. All right. So I'm going to start off by, actually, I'm going to do two things. So first of all, I'm going to go under my high range. I'm going to pull it back a little bit to around 520-ish. And I'm just going to take my highlights. And right now my focus is right here. I want to pull it up a little bit, not too much. I want to pull it and put it somewhere around here. So like, look at that. It just adds a really nice natural pop into my image. Let's see if we can do a little bit more. I'll just keep it down here. I don't want to push it any more than that. And it's adding a really nice pop in all of these areas. It looks really good. All right, so I'm going to keep it right there. Now I'm going to work on our dude. So I'm going to take my midtone and I'm just going to make sure that his skin looks perfect. Okay, so I'm working on that. I'm going to add a little bit more red in the midtones. Now I'm going to go under my shadows and I'm going to add a little bit more blue. And then just a little bit of magenta. I'm looking at his hair right now. And then pull that back to just like really give it a nice film look. And I'm just going to add a bit more blue and I'm going to add a bit more magenta. And if I do before and after, I mean, look at that. So it creates a really nice look, but it looks even better when I pull back. So like, look at that. And even like the color separation that it created between teal and this, like, just look at that. Like, look how everything pops. And that's all we had to do in our log wheels. So, I mean, how much of a look we created in these two nodes, just look at it. Big difference, okay? So one more thing that we can do in our log wheels is that if we want to add a bit more warmth in our highlights, we can do that, right? So I can just subtract a little bit of blue, add more red, and then, you know, obviously control that red. I don't want to overdo anything. And now if I pull back and we look at it, so now what we have to do is pull this down a little bit so it's not blowing out. I'm just looking at my colors right here. Okay, so look at that. I'm going to pull back on the red a little bit and keep adding more yellow. So like warmth that way. And that right there looks really nice. So look at that. Like we had a pretty warm image before, but working with our log wheels, we were able to control the colors so much and we're able to pull out so much more personality out of our image. All right. And now we're going to move on to our HSL curves. And here we want to do a few things. So I'm going to go under hue versus hue. And I'm just going to take my cyan and I'm going to pull it down, cool it off a little bit. And I'm going to take my green and I'm going to cool it off a little bit. Not too much. I do want it to stay even. So we're not making that big of a difference if I go here and do before and after, but we're taking some of the warmth out. Okay. And just leaving it at that. So that looks totally fine. Now, one more thing that I want to do here is I want to get pretty close to his face, hover over, and see where my skin is sitting. So you can see it right there. This is the skin indicator. And if I hover over here, my skin is sitting a little bit on the yellow side. So I want to click right here, select his skin, and then start moving it towards magenta. Okay. And now if I pull back, and we look at it, even on the vector scope, we were able to pull his skin back toward a natural skin tone color. And that looks way, way better. Okay. And another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go under my sat versus sat. And I'm going to take the most saturated areas in the image and I'm going to pull them down a little bit. Okay. Just something like that. It gives it a really nice film look. Okay. It just takes the sting out of all the areas that are overly saturated and it just blends everything way better. So that's what I'm going to do here. And at this point, we are ready to start shaping light. Okay. So first thing that I'm going to do is, like I mentioned to you guys, this is our motivation, this light right here. So this is what I want to do. I want to click right here and create a light shaft. Okay. Like this. And I want to invert it. And now I'm going to go under my primaries. I'm going to take my gamma and I'm just going to pull it down. Okay. And I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. And now let's go under our softness and I'm going to start adding some softness and I'm going to leave it somewhere around here. And if I do before and after, just look at the difference. And if I get rid of our overlay, like look at the difference that we made. And it's all believable because once again, there is motivation, this light that's coming through. So we can easily sell it. All right. Now we can move the frame and see if it needs to be tracked. But honestly, in a movement like that, it doesn't need to be tracked because we added enough feathering where everything is going to be fine. So I'm going to leave it as is. We should be totally fine. Now the next one, so let's call this vignette because that's a global vignette. And then let's call this hero and that hero. So then it doesn't matter. It could be a car. It could be a golf club. It could be a person. It's basically our main subject in the frame. So here it's our dude. So I'm going to punch in. And I'm going to create a custom shape. I'm a big fan of custom shapes because they're organic and they blend in very nicely. Okay. So I'm going to keep it something like this. I'm going to go under my curves. I'm going to go under my custom curves, turn on editable splines. Just click on this guy right here and then raise it up. I'm going to raise it up to something like this. I really want him to stand out. Okay. So we're going to go somewhere around here. And all we need to do now is add a little bit of feathering. Not too much, just a little bit. And he blends in. And at that point, what I need to do is I need to track it. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do track forward. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to track backwards. Okay. And if we come back to this point and we look at our tracking, it's latching on, everything is totally fine. And even if I get rid of this and play it back, you see that nothing weird is happening. It's latching on, okay? And it's making a massive difference before and after. And we're not done yet. Another thing that I want to do here is I want to go under my blur radius and I want to add a little bit of sharpening. So, you know, subtracting blur is adding sharpening. So now if I go pretty close to him and do before and after, like look at before, right? Pretty soft. And then after, like how big of a difference we're making. Like our eye goes straight to him now. Okay. So we're still not done yet. We're going to do a few more things. So here, I'm going to call it high. All right. So now I just want to bring down some of these highlights. Like right here is just kind of distracting. And then over here, I want to take some of the edge off so we can really focus on our little buddy right there. So I'm going to click on this guy right here and go ahead, draw a shape like this. And I'm going to go under my primaries, take my gain and bring it down. So something like that. Now let's go back into our softness and soften it out where it just blends in like that. And now go ahead and let's track it. So I'm going to track back, perfect track. And now I'm going to track forward. Perfect. We are good with this. So that really takes the emphasis off of the window and puts it right on our dude. And another one, I'm going to create another custom shape just like this. And I'm going to go something like this, there, and boom, done. And that's going to be our second shape. Once again, I'm going to feather it out a little bit so it blends in. And let's go ahead and track it again. Go back to this, and now let's track it back. Once again, perfect tracking. latches on, everything is great, and we're done with the shapes. So now if I get rid of the overlay and show you guys how big of a difference that's making, how it makes it even, and then the focus goes to our dude. Like we're not even paying attention to what's happening here. Okay, so that does quite a bit. Last one is if I move to 2 seconds and go here and you look at the door, that's again, it's not necessary, but I want to take care of it because this door is just kind of distracting, like to how yellow it is, just because we were creating such a warm look that it affected the door a little bit. So one way to attack it is just go under luminance versus saturation, click right here, bring it down. And now what I want to do is just kind of blend it in. So it's not too crazy. So even like something like that, this is before and after. And then again, obviously you want to feather it out just a little bit, not too crazy. And then track it back. And let's extend this. And then let's track it forward. So that's done. And it is, once again, super clean. And if I do before and after, it takes care of that. And that pretty much does it for this look. One more thing that we can do is create a global adjustment. And this is where we just make like last second changes. So what I like to do here is I can go under my sat versus sat, bring this down so we can create some sort of like a clean look, park it somewhere around here. But now I feel like there's just not enough saturation on my dude. So what I want to do is I want to go under hero, okay? And I want to just go under curves. And so I want to go on my hero node and I want to click right here and then expand it. I want to grab a little bit of his face, you know, and I want to grab a little bit of his shirt and I want to pull those areas out to like put even more focus on him. So I'm going to keep going until it starts to look kind of unnatural and then I'm going to come back. So this to me so far is looking pretty good, realistic. And guys, I mean, this for me does it. One more time, we can get close and just make sure that the skin tones are perfect and we can see it. It's like dead smack in the center. So our skin tones are looking really, really good. Now, some of you might be watching this thinking like, you know, you can't spend that much time per frame. And I can tell you right now, it depends on the project that you're working on. If you're working on a commercial, if you're working on a movie with big budget where you have time, you will be expected to do these things. And this is me explaining it to you, so it's taking so much time. But if I was just like breezing through it, if I'm just blasting through my grades, I'm doing it. I'm not taking the time to explain it to somebody what I'm doing. I'm just working on those issues to make sure that I end up with a pretty image. So let's kill everything. So we started with our CST and then used our primaries to create a really nice warm look, and then logged it quite a bit to accentuate that warmth in our image by creating a lot of style, and then HSL curves to just cool off the walls a little bit, and then swing the hue on his skin to like really get it where it's supposed to be. It was a bit more yellow. Created a vignette to shape light, and then pulled out our dude by a lot, and then controlled the highlights a little bit right there. Took some of the dinge out of the door right there, and then finally just brought the saturation down overall. I can even go back there now and see if I want to bring a little bit of back. So even something like that looks cool. Let me see. Do I want to bring it back even more, just a little bit? So even something like that, right? Like it does really. I wanna bring some of that back, to be honest. So we'll hold it somewhere around here, and it looks pretty freaking good. So guys, this is our final look, and if we compare it to our Rec 709, like Rec 709 looked really cool when we created it, right? Like I mean, when we just dropped the CST, we were like, we're pretty much done. And then you look at this thing that we sculpted. That's what color grading is all about. You have to start thinking like this. The reason why I take my time building these looks for you is for you to understand the concept that these are the thoughts that are going through a pro colorist's mind. And once you start thinking like that, you will be just coming up with cool looks and you'll be creating all sorts of cool stuff without even thinking about it. Let's check out the final look in full screen.
I'ma be what I'ma be. I like me for me. I am who I wanna be.
So as I said in the beginning of the video, that on a high level, our job is to make pretty images, but hopefully this video was able to give you an insight to what it actually means to get there from A to Z. And before we end, go check out the link to the free training where you will learn how to develop an HDR ready workflow. Link is down below. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness, and I will see you guys in the next video.